What's going on, guys? This is John Zakari, and today I'm coming at you with my full review for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. To start off, I must admit that, like many others, I wasn't too excited about this game's announcement at E3 last year. With word that Retro was working on another game for Nintendo, I was pulling for a new Metroid. With their last game also being an entry in the Donkey Kong Country series, I was worried we were getting another one too soon, and the Wii U already had enough platformers on the horizon. Now that I've played through the game, I'm glad this decision was made. In Tropical Freeze, the DK Crew's island paradise has been overrun by Viking invaders, and it's up to Donkey Kong and the gang to take back their home. Each Kong has unique abilities that will help players navigate various platforming challenges and acquire the game's bevy of secrets and collectibles. Donkey Kong is the default character with no discernible special abilities. Diddy Kong can use his jetpack to hover. Dixie Kong can spin her hair like a propeller to give her jumps an added boost. And Cranky Kong can use his cane as a pogo stick, much in the vein of Scrooge McDuck from the DuckTales game, allowing him to bounce on typically hazardous areas. All the other Kongs can ride on Donkey Kong's back in single player, allowing those going solo to utilize the various abilities. In multiplayer, the characters obviously control separately, but player 2 can still jump on Donkey Kong's back at any time to make getting through certain obstacles less troublesome. Tropical Freeze is a classic Donkey Kong Country game in every sense. The series has always been about pacing. Players must be able to identify when to move quickly and when to take their time to assess the next obstacle. The game's standard platforming levels often give players a moment to breathe between difficult sections, while the fast-paced Rocket Barrel, Rambi the Rhino, and infamous minecart levels are non-stop thrill rides almost certain to result in some sweaty palms. Tropical Freeze harkens back to the days of classic platformers, not just because of its 2D side-scrolling gameplay, but also because of its difficulty. The game often requires pinpoint precision to successfully move through obstacles without missing your target or taking damage. For this reason, players are likely to find themselves replaying sections multiple times. Again, this level of challenge is nothing new for this series, and should be a welcome aspect for fans of classic platformers. If I had to pick one standout aspect in Tropical Freeze's gameplay experience, I'd have to choose the boss fights. If you found yourself leaving games like Super Mario 3D World wanting more epic boss battles, then you should play the ones in Tropical Freeze. Every boss encounter in the game is a challenge, and each requires a different strategy to overcome. The most fascinating thing I found about the boss battles in this game was how they all work to lull the player into a pattern just in time to surprise you with a new attack. If you don't keep focused throughout the entirety of these fights, you're very likely to get caught off guard. Luckily, the game has tight controls, so even though there is a rather high level of difficulty, when you undershoot a jump or run into an enemy, you almost always feel like you're the one at fault. The only issue I had with the controls was the fact that ground pounding and rolling were mapped to the same button. Your character performs a roll if the button is pressed while moving, and does a ground pound while standing still. In a couple of instances, I pressed the button wanting to ground pound before I came to a complete stop, which resulted in a roll sometimes off the edge of a platform or into an enemy. Given that the gamepad has more than enough buttons to map these actions separately, it would have been nice if the game offered that option. Now, all this talk about difficulty does not mean that less skilled players are left to drown in frustration. Those who find themselves consistently running into trouble can find solace in the form of Funky Shop. Here, players can spend banana coins collected throughout the game to buy aids such as extra lives, hearts, and even free passes from pitfall deaths. Completionists can also take advantage of the shop by enlisting the help of Squawks the Parrot. If you bring Squawks into a level, he will, well, squawk whenever you're near a hidden puzzle piece, making them easier to track down. While the gameplay of Tropical Freeze may take players back to their classic platforming days, the art design and soundtrack of the game are executed in the big budget manner akin to the AAA titles of today. The shock value of seeing my favorite Nintendo franchises in HD still hasn't ceased to amaze me. The standout factor in Tropical Freeze is the fine details. From Donkey Kong's fur to the way snow blows through the trees in the background, there's a sense of realism in this cartoony world that at times took me aback. I was initially worried that the Tropical Freeze theme would result in an oversaturation of snow and ice themed levels that would quickly get old. But these levels were executed so well and used sparingly, so much so that I actually came away from the game wishing there were more Frozen themed levels. David Wise, the composer of the original Donkey Kong Country games, returns to create a soundtrack for Tropical Freeze that is nothing short of phenomenal. Each track not only sets the tone of the level, but often the pace. I frequently found myself reacting to the music as a sign of things to come. Aquatic Ambiance, the underwater theme that debuted in the original Donkey Kong Country game, is one of my favorite video game tracks of all time. And Tropical Freeze includes a new version of it that I've been listening to repeatedly since I first heard it in the game. It may be early in 2014, but this game is sure to be a contender for Best Video Game Soundtrack of the Year. There really wasn't much I didn't like about Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Retro Studios seems to have largely stuck with the formula that made Donkey Kong Country Returns a solid title, while improving on almost every aspect. If the future of this franchise continues to be left up to Retro, then it's in good hands. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze receives a 9 out of 10.
Oh, banana.
As many Nintendo fans know, there are several major titles slated for release on Wii U this year, and if Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is a sign of things to come, then I've got to say the time to own a Wii U is now. Well, that just about wraps it up for this review. If you enjoyed it, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Also, I want to know your thoughts. Are you currently playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze? What do you think of the game? Let me know in the comments. I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.